What's going on, everybody? Nick from the Sound Coop here, and I'm up in Northern California. We got a little break from the rain. So I thought I would just do a quick video about my all-time favorite Stratocaster mod. As far as I'm concerned, this is the one mod on a Strat to rule all Strat mods. This is a tone pot mod. This is not the 7-way switching mod that a lot of people use in the bottom tone pot. This is something completely different. I'd say probably about 15 years ago, this was a relatively popular mod that people discussed in Strat forums. You may know about this mod. I can tell you this is probably the most fun and the most versatile mod I've ever found for a Strat. The tone pot that I have down here is made by Andy Rothstein of Rothstein Guitar fame. He has a website called guitar-mod.com where you can buy these things. It's a passive mid-range scoop, and you can really do a lot with this. This will pretty much give you the whole array of available Stratocaster sounds that you can get with different high output and low output Strat style pickups. That might be confusing when I talk about a wide array of sounds. The way that I generally think about it is if the Strat pickup has more winds of copper, it's going to have a more accentuated mid-range. It'll sound closer to a P90. If it has less winds of copper, it'll have more of a dipped mid-range. I think in the whole array of various Strat pickups, they all sound Strat-like, Stratty, if you want. But I think that depending on how many winds of copper are in there, there can be a decent amount of variation on the actual tone. And this, to me, just gives you that whole array of tones. A couple of things that make this a great mod. There's no routing required. You just take the old tone pot out, you solder this one in. Andy sends this to you with instructions, so there won't be any confusion about how to make this happen. It's completely passive, so it doesn't require a 9-volt. This is just a drop-in tone pot. I guess the one disadvantage, it might be on the expensive side, depending on what you consider expensive. They're 90 bucks. For me, this is worth every penny. I don't really consider $90 expensive for what you're getting in this thing. But, I did just buy recently a set of pickups from Fralin, couple of P90s, and they were, a little over 300 bucks. So a tone pot being a third the price of a set of pickups might be expensive to you. I think if you're skeptical as to what you can actually achieve with this, hang around and just see what we do with it. If you like what you're hearing, leave me a comment. If you don't like what you're hearing, leave me a comment too. I'm all about having a chat about this in the comment section. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to just ask and I'll definitely get back to you. Okay, so the $1 million question, how does this work? Normally in a Stratocaster setup, this tone pot is a high-end roll-off for these two pickups, and this tone pot is a high-end roll-off for your bridge pickup. The way that I have this set up, this tone pot is still a high-end roll-off, but it works for all three pickups. And this is the Rothstein mid-scoop, and it works for all three pickups. So you can use this in any of the 5 pickup positions. This mid-scoop tone pot is neutral when it's in the 5 position. So when it's halfway in the middle of the pot, neutral, it's not doing anything. When you turn it down below 5, it scoops the mids. When you turn it up above 5, it actually adds mids back, and it will kind of make it sound more like a humbucker or like a P90, which to me is really kind of magical. It's passive, right? So there's no added amplification happening here. It's amazing to me that you can put frequencies in that aren't there. It's not really magic, but it seems magical to me. One of the cool things about this is turning this knob either direction doesn't have a huge effect on the output of the guitar. So if you're going into an amp and you're dialing in overdrives, turning this knob isn't really going to change how hard you're hitting the overdrive. It's definitely going to change what frequencies are hitting the overdrive, which will have an effect on the sound. But this isn't the kind of thing where you're going to have to fiddle with this and a volume knob in order to get it hitting your amp basically the same. The highs and the lows are going to be hitting your amp the same no matter where this thing is set. It's just going to be a matter of what middle frequencies might be getting pushed into your amp or overdrive pedal. So that's really handy. You don't have to fuss as much with all the rest of your gear. You can do a lot of your tonal tweaking here, and your rig will stay relatively the same in terms of overdrive while just changing the EQ characteristics. Pretty handy. The way that I think about this is if you're turning this below 5, you're kind of getting into that Mark Knopfler, John Mayer, kind of a scoop mid sort of a sound. If you're turning it up above 5 a little bit, you're kind of getting into that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. And if you turn it up, a little bit more closer to 10, you're kind of getting into that Jeff Beck, Eric Johnson, sort of higher output Strat sound. So there's a lot of tones available there. I do think also when you're going down below 5, you can also get a lot of those cleaner Jimi Hendrix type sounds. And you can kind of get a lot of the sounds that were achieved by guys that followed his path. Some of the Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff has kind of a scoop mid sort of sound to it. A lot of the 90s stuff from like Mike McCready of Pearl Jam or Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of has that scoop mid sort of a sound, a lot of the clean stuff. Going down below 5 will get you into all those territories. So let me just kind of run through some sounds real quick and let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so I'm in the neck position here. This is a pretty normal Strat sound. Pretty standard, okay? If I use this mid sucker, there's a lot of mids scooped out there. It might sound like there's not a lot of highs there either, but so if I put that back to neutral and I turn this tone pot all the way down, that's all the highs completely removed. It's not very usable. This one turned back to 1, which is fully scooped mids. This is really fun for guys that like to do that Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Mayer thing, where the mids are scooped and you kind of use like a tube screamer or something to kind of add the mids back. This is a great position for this knob if you like doing that sort of a thing. But if we go from 1, which is pretty scooped, and we turn it up, right where it hits 2, it kind of comes online a little bit. And so there's a lot more like 3K, 4K there. For me, when you're at the 2, we're kind of getting more into Mark Knopfler territory. If you like finger picking, it's a lot of fun. If you go above that, you know, I'd say anything between 2 and 3 is sort of various stages of Mark Knopfler. And of course, you know, somewhere in here, there's also a lot of that Hendrix stuff. So I'm at about 3 there. That's back to 5, which is neutral. 5 down to 3. Okay, so we got a ton of various types of scoop mids there. And really, like, from my point of view, there's at least a half a dozen tones available between 1 and 5. Maybe even a few more depending on what you're doing. If you're using high gain amps where you're using a lot of distortion, you can really get a lot more character out of this. I just tend to be a clean tone guy, so I don't really do that a whole lot. But here's the magic. Now, I don't know how Andy does this. This is just wild to me. So, pretty normal Strat sound. If you turn this from 5 to 10, I mean, that sounds like a humbucker. Or at least like a P90. Okay, so let's back to 5. That's 5, now here's 10. I love that. It's really a lot of fun. One of the things that I'm not really super jazzed about when I'm playing Strat parts is something like this. It's cool. It's just a little slinky sounding. If you turn that pot up to 10, I don't know, I really like that. If we're back at 5 and you go up to about 7, maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, something more like that. You're kind of in that Stevie territory. If you go up to 10, you're sort of getting more into that Eric Johnson, Jeff Beck thing with like a higher output type Strat pickup. I just think it's killer. You can get so much out of this tone pot, and I haven't even left the neck position here. You can do so much more with this, you know, especially like when you're in, you know, either the 4 or the 2 position where you're using 2 of these pickups in conjunction. The mids already get a little bit scooped, you know, so I'm in the 4 position here, using the neck in the middle. There's not a lot of lows there. Back to the neck. There's a lot of lows there. Not as much lows and low mids there. And then you can scoop that out, or you can add in some of those darker. I don't know, man. I think that's a lot of fun. And like I said, we've barely even dug into any of the positions here. If you want a wide array of Strat sounds out of one guitar, I just can't recommend this enough. When I bought this guitar recently, I didn't have this tone pot in it, and within about 3 days, I just missed it so much. I had to add it in. One other thing I'll point out, there's a mini toggle switch right here, and you may be wondering what that's for. This is actually my 7-way switching. So a lot of times the way guys will do the 7-way switching is they'll have this tone pot actually act as a volume pot. And what you can do is when you're up in the neck position, you can turn this volume pot up, which will actually blend in the bridge pickup. This is actually a really cool mod. Being able to blend in the bridge pickup with the volume knob gives you also a pretty wide array of available sounds in there. I don't have another tone pot to make that happen here. So what I do is I actually run this the opposite way with this mini toggle. When I'm down here in the bridge position, if I flip the toggle down, that adds the neck pickup to the bridge position. So that's a Strat bridge right there. I'm not a huge fan of this sound. It's really quacky and nasally. I know guys love that. I'm a neck position guy, but using this little mini toggle, adding that neck down, it gives you a lot of that meat back to the sound, and I really like that. When you're doing like downward runs like this is just the bridge. You can kind of hear the difference in tone between those 2 strings. When you add the neck pickup down to the bridge, it's more of like a Telecaster kind of a sound. The Telecaster sort of has that position available in the middle, and so it kind of gives me that. Fair enough, I can't blend it in, but what you can do with this tone pot sort of outweighs me being able to blend the bridge back into the neck. So if you're a Strat fan, I consider checking these out. I don't know Andy personally, but I've been buying these things from him for probably 15 years now, and he's a really nice guy. He answers emails. If you ever have any questions, he sends install instructions. They actually have this set up another way too, where instead of being a centered detent knob, what he does is he builds a high-end roll-off and this mid-scoop into one pot. And so it becomes a push-pull. When it's in the down position, you get your traditional high-end roll-off. When you pop the knob up, it becomes that mid-sucker, and then you can put it at 5, and that's the neutral position. If you have a guitar that only has one tone pot, you can still get this. I have this in my Novo with the P90. It's killer. You can do so much with this in any sort of a guitar that has a decent amount of top end. Like I said, maybe not the best thing for a humbucker, but who knows? I haven't actually tried it. It just, based on what I'm hearing from this, it doesn't seem to me like it would be as helpful. If you're a guy that has a humbucker guitar you love and you end up putting one of these in, shoot me a comment or shoot me a message. I'd love to hear how it sounds. And if you like the video, shoot me a like, shoot me a subscribe, shoot me a comment. I'm all about interacting with you guys if anyone wants to chat about anything. And if you think this mod is completely ridiculous, get at me in the comments. I'm happy to hear about it. I love this mod, and it might not be for everyone, but if you want a very versatile Strat, for me, this is the mod to end all mods. Hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll see you again soon.